Hey guys, Billy here. Today I have compiled a list of 5 add-ons and 1 honorable mention to help you guys improve your Mythic Plus score. I hope you enjoy and let me know what add-ons you use or if you think I've missed any. So the first add-on that I'm going to talk about in this video is LittleWigs, and this is boss timers for bosses and mini bosses within dungeons. So currently I'm fighting a noob Zect, which is the second boss of WeakAura, and my LittleWigs is in the center of the screen here and to the right over here. The right ones are ones that are slightly longer cooldown, but when they get to less than 10 seconds, they'll come to my middle screen. So I can see that the Impale is happening in 2.5 seconds, Burrow Charge in 3.5, Arrow ad spawning in 6, and the Eye of the Swarm in 35. And what this allows me to do is plan my movement, defensive and offensives around this a lot better than if I didn't know when stuff was coming. So for example, this Burrow Charge, I'm able to stand far away and then disengage to avoid all the damage of it, whereas if I didn't have LittleWigs, I wouldn't have known this was happening. I also see that now there's an Impale, which is going to be a frontal cast, and I can see that there's an ad spawning in 8 seconds, so we've got to make sure that we kill both ads. So yeah, LittleWigs, very important just for planning cooldowns, offensive and defensive, and you can also avoid a lot of damage if you know that casts are going to happen. Okay, so now that we've got LittleWigs, I'll talk about the next add-on, and this is Plater, and I'll show you how it looks in this pull. So, for example, I've got the percentages of the mob's health, I've got the names, and I've got health bars above the names of the mobs. Then the mobs that have the yellow cast bar, they're the mobs that need to be kicked or interrupted or CC'd, because they have deadly casts that need to be interrupted, and on high keys, then you will get one shot by a lot of these casts, so it's very important that you stop every single one. And just having normal nameplates, it can be really, really difficult just to see what's casting, unless you know beforehand. And even then, clicking the mob can be very difficult. So this Plater just makes it very, very easy to click a mob and then kick it. I'd also recommend having a focus kick, so you can set it as focus and then kick it. So yeah, that is Plater. Very, very important add-on. I think it's one of the most useful ones you can get, and it doesn't seem that useful to start with, but once you play with it, it's going to be hard to play without, just due to how useful it actually is. The next add-on that I'm going to talk about is OmniCD, and what this does is it allows you to track your teammates' cooldowns. You can see to the left of my frames here that I'm tracking my DH's kick, his CC, his major defensives, my Druid's CDs, his healing buttons. I can track kicks from everybody, and then for the DPS, I'm tracking their defensives as well as their offensive cooldowns. The reason this is useful, as from a tank's perspective, you can see, oh, my team has every button available, I'm going to do a slightly smaller pull, or they have nothing available, I'm going to do a slightly smaller pull. For your healer, you can see if someone's pressed a button. So for example, if I press turtle, I don't need to be ironbarked as well, as that would just be overkill, and the ironbark is probably better on someone else. And at the DPS, you can see what your healer's pressed. So for example, if my healer presses tranquility, I probably don't have to press turtle as well, because then we'd overlap and it would be unnecessary. Although the most important part of this add-on is definitely the kicks. So if you're against a group of mobs, and one of the mobs has a cast that will wipe your whole group if it goes off, and the other ones just cast a cast like Web Bolt that just does single target damage, it does need to be kicked, but it's not like top priority, and you see that you're the only person with a kick left. You can then save your kick for the whole group wiping cast, whereas if you weren't tracking it, then you might just kick one of the Web Bolts because they're more frequent, and then you'd wipe to the group wiping cast because you would think someone else would kick it. Now I'll talk about WeakAuras and a WeakAura to help you see what casts are targeted on you. So WeakAuras, what they are basically little reminders for you to press buttons. So for example, on my hunter, I've got one for barb shot stacks, so that I can see how many stacks of barb shot I have, as this makes my pets do a lot more damage or attack speed. I've got one for Bestial Wrath. With the new tier set, it shows you when you'll get a double stampede. Then I also have one that shows me when I'm targeted by multiple spells, or any spells for example. So here you can see that I'm targeted with 2 Night Bolts. If both of these Night Bolts go through, on a 13 I probably die, or maybe live with 5-10%. On anything higher, I die. And on say an 18 or a 19, if one of these casts go through, I would just die instantly. So it's really important to just be able to see what's targeted on you, so that you're able to stop it or call for a personal or press a defensive. This WeakAura also has a sound that plays when I'm targeted, and you'll hear it in a second. It has 2 casts on me, as you just heard, and then I know there's 2 casts on me, and we're able to kick one of the casts, so I don't need to use a defensive, as I know one cast won't kill me, and it's better off to save the defensive for somewhere else. So yeah, that helped me there. You can see now that my Bestial Wrath is also flashing. This means that I should press it. And that's just a hunter-specific WeakAura, for when my Howl of the Pack leader is ready so that I'll get a double Stampede because of my tier set. So yeah, WeakAuras, they're pretty much mandatory, I would say. The next add-on I'll be looking over is Details. And Details is pretty much, it should be a core of WoW, to be honest. I don't know why they don't have a damage meter in WoW, and you've got to get an add-on for it. But it's probably the most useful all-around add-on you can get. And the reason for that is you basically see everything you need to see. I can see my item level. I can see everyone else's in the group's item level. I can see damage, healing, enemy damage taken, CC breaks, deaths, interrupts. Pretty much everything you'd want to see in a key, you can see. There's a lot of settings for it, as well as keeping history so you can check older keys as well. And then if you click on it, you can see what did damage, how much each of your largest hits did, and you can see your buff uptime as well. So I can see that my trinket had an 84% uptime, which is really quite good for a trinket. I can see that my barbs had 64%, my Bestial Wrath had 57%. Overall, these are pretty decent, so it's good just to be aware of this. And for example, I could, if I knew that my Bestial should be like 80% uptime, then I could think, oh, I'm doing something wrong. I need to change that so then I should do more damage. I can also see here that my flask only had a 70% uptime, so this means that I didn't have a flask for the whole run. So this is trolling, and I definitely should have had a flask for the whole run. But it was only a 13, so it didn't really matter. But you can also, if you have another person of the same class in your group, you can compare. So for example, here I was playing with Charmy, and Charmy did more damage than me. I can compare and see why he did more damage and what with. He's also playing a different hero talent, so I can see here that most things are looking quite similar. But his hero talent did a bit more than mine did. And then you can also compare stuff like item level or score, and you can use that just to compare with other people to see what you could do better. So overall, I think Details is one of the most useful add-ons you can have. Oh, and the other useful thing is deaths. So for example, you can see why you died. So here I can see that I died just a Locust Swarm, and then I also got charged twice as well. This is just unlucky that I get charged twice, but I can see that next time maybe I need a personal or an external from my healer, or I need to press maybe a health pot or something. A lot of people just use it as a DPS meter, which it is, but it has so much more than that. You can see healing, you can see deaths. It's a really, really useful add-on overall, and you can improve very, very quickly if you get good at using it. The final add-on that I'm going to mention is Mythic Dungeon Tools, and although it's not in my top 5, I do think that it deserves a mention, as especially for high keys, it can be very, very important. So what it does is it allows you to plan routes in the dungeons. And this is really, really useful, as in a dungeon you might not know, oh, do I need to pull this mob to get percent, or do we have enough percent? And this basically simplifies that for you. It gives the total dungeon with the amount of count that you need, and then it puts all of the mobs in the dungeon on the map. And if you hover over any of the mobs, it shows you how many count they give. And if you right click, you can open their info and you can see all of the spells they do, as well as their health on the certain key level, and what they are affected by. So for example, if some mobs are immune to, say, Blind from Pala or Grip from DK, then it will show you here. So for example, the Goliath, or the Shard, this can't be gripped, it can't be CC'd, so it's only affected by Taunt. So you know that you can't CC this mob, you just have to kill it. And you can also see that it has a very dangerous cast, which is Thrash, and this just does a lot of damage. And it does Synquake, which is just a circle around everybody's feet, and that does a lot of damage if you stand in it. And some mobs also have Stealth Detection, which you can see on this add-on. The other great part about this add-on is that you can add notes, so you can say Bloodlust this pull, or Chain to Boss on this pull, and to add a note, you just click Insert Note, you click the note, and then you say Bloodlust, or whatever you want the note to be. And yeah, it's very useful, especially for pugging if you're a tank, as a lot of groups will expect you to have a route planned in your head, and they just want to see it so they can plan their cooldowns accordingly. Also share your routes, so if I click shared here, it would share in my party. The rest of my party can look, they can edit it as well. So yeah, this is Mythic Dungeon Tools. I'd get it, have a fun, play around with it, and try and make your own routes. It's really fun, and probably one of the most important add-ons, especially if you're a tank. I know some of you won't want to hear me yap, so here is the full list of the add-ons on the screen now. Thank you for watching, feel free to comment, like or subscribe, and I hope you have a great day.